Hello, welcome to AleaSoft webinar. My name is Alejandro Delgado, Technical Director of AleaSoft and Associate Partner of AleaGreen, and thank you for joining us today to the webinar with the topic Prospect for the Energy Markets in Europe, Vision of the Future. Our speaker today will be Oriol Saltó, Data Analysis and Modeling Director of AleaSoft and Associate Partner of AleaGreen, that will analyze the evolution of the European energy markets and other relevant topics aimed to give you a vision of the future for the energy sector. If you have any questions at any time during the webinar, please use the Q&A menu and we will answer them after the presentation. And now, I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Oriol, please share your slides. Oriol, you are on mute now.
Okay, now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you in advance because we may have some technical difficulties today. I hope you can hear me well. I hear you more or less, let's say. Okay, so as Alejandro mentioned, I'm the only speaker today. And it's been a while since we have our last webinar with no invited speakers, but we will take this chance to talk about the future tools that we can use to look at the future, optimize our revenues, look for business opportunities. So very interesting. We will start with as always, looking at the evolution of the energy markets in the last weeks. Since our last webinar, it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm not sure. So first of all, let me share my slides. Because I didn't have time to have this ready. So, okay, hopefully you can already see my slides. And so,
yes, we can hear it fine.
Thank you, Alejandro. So let's start right away. I will start, as I mentioned, as always, looking at how the energy markets have been evolving in the last weeks. Very interesting things. Let's see. As always, I'll start with a brief introduction of what's AleaSoft and AleaGreen and what are the services that we offer. In AleaSoft, we offer forecasting services for the energy sector, covering all the energy markets in Europe. Also starting with some energy markets in North America and South America. And well, our goal and our challenge is to expand to cover energy markets at the global scale. We basically forecast any variable, any value that can be interesting for the energy sector. Obviously, price and demand for the gas and electricity markets, but also renewable energy production. Weather conditions, socioeconomic indexes, CO2 prices, gas prices, fuel prices, etc. And not only day-ahead markets, but also futures markets, ancillary services, intraday markets, etc. And we offer average price and demand forecasting, but also simulations at the hourly level for prices, at the mid and long term. This means hourly price simulations for 3-5 years ahead. The methodology that we use for forecasting is our own methodology, developed by AleaSoft specifically for forecasting in the energy sector. The 3 main points that we always like to stress about our methodology is that it is a completely scientifically based methodology. It's a hybrid technology combining classical statistical techniques like regression and econometric models, time-series analysis, very important, also combined with some more advanced techniques from artificial intelligence like machine learning algorithms, neural networks, etc. This methodology, this scientific base, gives coherent forecasting that keeps the consistency over time. So consistency and coherence is something that we take very seriously. And well, we have been using this methodology for more than 23 years now, starting in the Iberian electricity market and now covering all the energy markets in Europe. So let us start, as always, with this historical perspective of the oil price. I always like to show this graph at the very beginning because it gives us a perspective on where we are now compared with the modern history. So basically, the oil price is giving us how the global economy is going. Now we have had a global economy based on fossil fuels, or basically oil price is kind of this global economy index. And by the end of or in 2021, or it was already 2022, we reached the highest prices in oil, Brent oil, since 2008, at the highest peak. And since then, the prices have been retreating. Making a zoom on the last month, basically, since the highest peaks of this year, prices have been going down, basically due to the expects on the global economy slowing down because of the global recession that is expected. Also, China and new COVID outbreaks. Basically, so since the last webinar, that was we were more or less at this level. Since then, prices have been going down. There's been a major event that is a cap on Russian oil that some countries, basically European Union and G7 countries, put on Russian oil. Finally, after some discussions, the price cap was set at $60. The goal was to kind of cut revenues, cut profits for Russia. But at this price level, basically it's making no damage to the Russian economy, because that $60 it's well above the production cost for oil in Russia, and Russia is already selling oil to Asian countries well below this cap. So basically, this decrease in prices is basically not related with the beginning of this price cap, but basically because of the expectations on future demand, basically seeing how the global economy will evolve. On the other side, gas prices in Europe. This is the TTF gas that we have. The reference happening in Europe after the highest prices that we had by the end of August. Prices declined rapidly. This was because basically we were in summer or late summer, but still with warm temperatures. The stock, the reserves were quite full. We were reaching the goal that we have in order to have enough gas for the winter. So, and basically when cold temperatures start arriving, demand starts increasing. Also, the reserves, they are still at very high level, but they are starting to retreat. The levels are starting to low. So basically, this kind of tension, this pressure, even if there is still no real sign of a shortage on gas supply, there's this tension because we are starting to decrease our levels, so demand is starting to increase. So basically, prices are going up. And I included this graph about the gas storage levels for the whole European Union market. And basically, you see that we are still at very high levels. We reached more than 90%. And right now, on November 15th, basically we start taking out more gas than we were injecting in the storage. But still, you see how the situation still is not critical because they are levels are still pretty high, and the idea is to get by to the end of the winter, so in March, with levels still around 30%. So this is the goal. We get to March at 30% levels. Probably we will have enough time to refill again the storage for the next winter, and hopefully next winter prices will be already a little lower. CO2 is this market that get us worried because very soon, because prices were increasing rapidly, but then after the war, after the beginning of the war, as this is a market with an important component of speculative investment, basically the fear of the war, the fear of the global economy basically stopped the increase in prices, and then basically prices have been kept at this level around 90 euros per ton, with some volatility. Some high prices were reached by the end of August when gas prices also went up, and since then we have had the situation with high prices but low volatility, but with some shift levels, and the last one is getting the prices close to 90 euros. So let's see. Maybe is this the resuming of the upward trend of this price? I'm still not sure. It's difficult. But what we are seeing is that more or less at a regular pace, prices are again going up, but still below the historical heights. Now let's look at the electricity markets. As always, I will not have time to go market by market. I usually show this slide with the most demanded reports that we have, as we will talk more about tools and ways to look at the future in the second part of the webinar. I will not talk about this now. And let's go directly to the electricity market. This is the average monthly prices for the most of the, or some of the most important electricity markets in Europe. Basically, since our last webinar, so the new whole month that we have is November, and basically we've seen how electricity prices increased around 10-11% on average on all these markets, basically following the increase in gas prices. The exception is Spain and Portugal. As we know, we have what it's called the AleaGreen exception. So it's a mechanism to lower the prices in the electricity markets. Basically, we have a cap on on prices for gas used in electricity generation. So basically, as we have this cap, we are basically less sensitive to the increases in gas prices, even though we afterwards have to compensate somehow the power plants that use gas. But even with this extra compensation, our prices are still way below the rest of the markets. And in November, indeed, prices went down. So these are daily prices for the last month or last weeks. So basically, seeing how after gas prices went down, when they started increasing again, prices for most of the markets followed an upward trend. In Spain, as we have this cap on gas prices used in electricity generation, basically the price is on the electricity market is quite stable, even though this gas price cap will be increasing. Now in December, we had an increase by 5 euros megawatt hour of gas, and it will be increasing 5 euros each month until May. So basically, we we could expect some increase in the electricity market price, but because gas prices are quite low or were lower at that time, and in Spain they are even lower in the period of deep gas. So we basically have not seen no increase in gas price in the electricity market prices. So basically they are still more or less at the same level, 150 euros megawatt hour on average. A recent event where these very high prices that we have in UK last week, where hourly prices reached close to 1,600 pounds per megawatt hour. So it's not a historical high, but really high prices. And looking now at the futures market and what the futures market tell us about what the traders are seeing right now. On the Brent prices, Brent futures prices, basically the forward curves decreased in the short term. This is basically because the spot prices have decreased, as we have seen. So basically the short term is following the spot prices, but basically no changes at the long term. And this decrease at the short term, but without changing much in the long term, is giving us a situation of contango, so increasing prices in the forward curve as we get farther in the horizon, but just at the beginning of this curve. And this is something, I included this graph that is basically the spread between the first and the second month in front. So basically the difference between the second month and the first month at the beginning of the curve for each day. And basically, we can see here we have the zero. So basically, if we are below this line, we are in backwardation. So prices going down as we go further in the horizon. And if we are in the upper part, we are in contango. So prices are lower at the beginning of the curve and then higher farther away. And basically, we see that this situation is the first time that happened since in this year, because the last time that we had a little bit of this contango situation was in December 21. So, and basically, it's not been the most usual situation for basically 2 years ago. So basically, some different situations that we're having right now that we have not seen for a time. On gas futures, we see some movements in 2023 and 2024, basically 7%, 7.5% up, no changes from 2025 on, basically following the increase in the prices in the spot market. So basically no major changes. This will have an effect on how we forecast prices basically for next year, 2024, and basically no much impact on the long-term forecast. CO2 curves, basically as prices have been going up in the spot prices, this curve is usually very rigid, so it moves more or less as one piece up or down following the spot prices. That's something that we have been seeing in the last webinar. So for most of the time, we have been saying the curve is getting steeper, so prices in the future are increasing more rapidly each time. But since a couple of webinars, maybe the last 3 webinars, we have been seeing the opposite. So the curve is getting flatter, and I usually show this graph in order to illustrate this. This is basically the spread, the difference between the price of the future for December 28 minus December 22. So basically the difference between this price and this price. So if the difference is lower or it's small, it means that the curve is flatter. If the difference is really high, it means that the curve is expensive. So basically, we see that this spread was the highest on July the 20th. So this is when when we had the steepest curve. And since then, we have been how this curve, this spread is reducing, so the curve is getting flatter and flatter. So basically, it's a change in the trend, because clearly this curve has been getting steeper for a long time. So now we are seeing the opposite behavior. And the forward curves for power markets, for electricity markets. So basically, as always, basically no change in the long term. Just a reminder that these futures electricity markets are very liquid. So basically, you have no trade into your next year, maybe next 2 years. So basically, these prices are just synthetic prices, maybe sometimes based on some PPA values that already have discounts on spot prices. So basically, not a very good indicator of how the future spot price will be at the long term. On the short term, basically, we are seeing some movements. Spain, basically, no movements, 2023, 2024. For half of 2023, we will already have the cap on gas price in place. So basically, this is avoiding movements in the futures, and basically some changes in other markets. Italy went up, French went down. France has their own problems with their nuclear availability. So basically, prices, futures prices moving according on how the expectation of the nuclear availability is going. Some changes also in Germany for 2024. And as for summarizing this first part, basically what key elements are we going to take into account? What will be giving us the key pieces in order to forecast the price of electricity markets? Basically, as we have seen, the price cap on Russian oils at the level of the $60 is basically having no impact on oil prices. Oil prices have been going down basically because of the expected slowdown of the global economy. Also, producer countries have been debating if to reduce or not the production, but basically this right now is having no effect. So we are seeing how oil prices are going down. So right now they are down by 0.5%. So basically a clear downward trend in the last weeks. Gas prices, well, we have seen how low temperatures and the beginning of winter is just putting pressure on the stock levels and on gas prices. So basically, we have seen an increase in the last week. These increasing gas prices have been putting pressure in electricity market prices. That is still that are registering also increases. The exception is Spain and Portugal, so the Iberian exception. Even the price reference, this price cap has been shifted up by €5. We are now not seeing a clear increase in market prices. And as always, in the long term, we will talk about the long term now more, but basically no changes. We are seeing how renewable energy, green hydrogen, storage, this is what's giving the price level in the future, and basically we are seeing no large differences here. So in this second part, as we are focusing more on the long term, we changed the look of the slide. So it is a greenish tone, basically because AleaGreen is the division of our company that is more focused on the long term. So basically, we will be looking at the future. What are the challenges? What are the risks? What will be present in the future? and what are we going to need in order to deal with all this. So maybe we can make this part a little more interactive. So I will be talking about tools and and things that we can use. If you have any questions, maybe I can try to answer them as they are being asked. So Alejandro, if you find any, I'll be more or less taking attention to Q&A. But Alejandro, if you see any question that you think is interesting to be answered live and not at the end, just interrupt me. So basically, well, I don't have to here. Probably I don't have to convince anyone that renewable energies will be the key piece in the energy transition. So basically, if we will need, or there will be a need of a lot of investment, a lot of money, not only in Spain and Europe, but all over the world. So basically, we will need a lot of money. All these new renewable energy plants, renewable energy parks will need financing. And when you are trying to find financing for your project, basically you need to value your assets. So how much worth is my project? So basically, and for that you basically need to know how much or how much you can sell the energy that you produce, because basically your revenues will come from the energy that you sell. And you have several options. You can sign a PPA, so you establish a fixed price or some kind of price structure for selling all or a large part of your production. So basically, you have more or less predictable cash flow. So basically, you can input that on your financial model and your future cash flow, and basically this gives you how much is what is the valuation of your asset. You can go to a public renewable energy auction. So basically, you are if the auction is done by a government. So basically, you are signing a large a PPA with the government. They give you a price, or you bid a price, and then if you are awarded with the auction, basically you receive the price. So you have a long-term vision of your cash flows, of your cash flows, of your revenues. Or you can go for the full merchant option. So basically, you decide to sell all your energy to the market. So basically, you are receiving market prices. In any of these situations, basically, you as the developer or as the owner of the project, you want to make the energy that you produce as valuable as possible. And on the other hand, the lender, the financial institution that is giving you the money, they want to see what's going to be the worst case scenario with any of the options. So basically, you will need your vision of the future of the electricity market, and the lender, the financial institution, will have their own vision. And based on that, you have to agree on a financial condition. So basically, on how much money and how you will give it back. But in any of these cases, if you are signing the PPA, if you're going to a public auction, or if you are going the full merchant option, basically you have to know what will be the market at the long term, because this is going to give you how much the energy that you sell is worth, and this will give you how much I can assume to sign a PPA. So what's the price of the PPA? Is it worth? Is it not worth? How much risk I am taking when I'm signing at this price? Or if I'm going to a public auction, what's the bid? What's the price that I will offer? It will be enough cover my expenses, or it will be in the risk that I am putting on this offer, because if I sell the energy in an auction, I will not then receive the merchant price. So what's the risk on assuming these prices? And obviously, if you are going for merchant, your revenues will be basically set by the market price. So knowing the market price will be the main input on your financial model. So basically, in any case, having a long-term view of the electricity market and the prices is the key value when you are valuing your set. What's important on this long-term vision? What's important on this long-term price forecasting for electricity market prices? Basically, you have to have obviously a reliable methodology. That's something that we have, and it's interesting to have confidence bands. So usually, most of the providers provide you with a central scenario, then highest scenario, lowest scenario, but these scenarios are basically kind of arbitrarily chosen just on I don't know, assumed scenario. So maybe choose a low price for gas scenario, low demand, or a high capacity on renewable energy production. On the other hand, if you have confidence band, basically what we do is we do the order of 1,000 to around 2,000 simulations, basically combining all the possible situations in the future. So combining high gas prices with high renewable energy production, low renewable energy production with high prices, with low prices, with high demand, low demand. So basically combining any possible situation that can occur more or less realistically into the future, and then combining them. So we get basically for each year, for each point on the horizon, at least 2,000 possible prices. And then around these prices, we can build confidence band. So basically, we are giving you not only a high or lower scenario that you can interpret this confidence band as such. So high scenario, lower scenario, but they are not only arbitrary scenarios chosen with given gas price and demand conditions. They are alternative scenarios, but with a confidence level. So we usually choose the 85% and 15% confidence band. This is basically giving you a band where we are quite sure that the price in any point in the horizon will have a 70% probability of being inside this band and 15% probability being above, 15% probability going below, or we can have 90% and 10% band, so basically giving 80% probability band. So using confidence band, you not only have just selected cases that can occur in the futures, but you have basically all the possible combinations of situations in the future, and you can just pick the confidence band that is coherent, that resonates with your risk appetite. So how sure I want to be about the price that I choose. And then another important feature of the long-term price forecasting is having hourly price forecasting and hourly price forecasting simulation. So basically, if we are developing maybe solar photovoltaic plant, basically we know that we will be producing energy just in the central hours of the day. So basically, more than in the average market price, what we really need is the capture price. So what will be the prices while we are producing energy? Because we know that it's going to be different. If we have a lot of solar production during the day, prices will probably be lower than the prices during the night. But we don't care about the prices in the night because we will not be producing. So basically, we are interested in the capture price for our technology or for our project that is situated at the given latitude, so and a given location. So this is what we are interested in. And for that, we need hourly price simulations and hourly price forecasting, because then we can combine our production pattern with the hourly price. And then there we can get the exact captured price of our technology, or even of our single project in a specific location. And more or less what I was saying about the risk management. So why it's interesting, why it's important to have not only an average price expectation, average price estimation, that is important, but what if we have any possible situation that we can have in the future, and every possibility with its own probability. This is basically giving us a full description of the expected price in the future. So we are not assuming just one price. We can choose what's our risk appetite, how much risk are we willing to assume, and then according to that choose a given price. So this is basically why we need probabilistic metrics when we are doing risk management. So for instance, if I am a consumer, I have a large factory that is consuming 1 gigawatt hour per year. So I can calculate what's my value at risk. So I can estimate, for instance, with 5, or what's the risk of having to spend 50,000 euros on electricity. So if I am consuming 1 gigawatt hour per year, and I choose in this projection for year 2019, if I choose the percentile 95, this means that there is a 5% probability that the average price in 2019 will be above this price. So basically multiplying my consumption, 50,000 megawatts hour, with this price. Sorry, I said 1,000 megawatts hour. With this price, basically there is a 5% probability, a 5% risk that I will need to pay 50,000 euros for electricity in 2008. Maybe my risk for appetite is different, and I can choose the 1% probability. So there is a 1% probability that I have to pay more than 51,000 euros for the electricity in 2019 in this case. Or if I am a producer, if I sell my energy at this price, if I produce 1 gigawatt hour per year, there's a 5% probability that I will receive at least 45,000 euros. Or if I go to 1%, I want to be a little more extreme, there is a 1% probability that I will receive 43,000 euros or less in that given year. And this is basically giving me a crucial input for my risk modeling, because given these scenarios, or the scenario, the risk that I'm willing to take, I can decide how much of my energy do I hedge, how much I'm going to cover to hedge in the futures market, or am I willing to sign a PPA or a bilateral contract for next year at a given price that is covering me this 5%, this 10% risk that I'm having of paying too much for the electricity. So basically, having the full picture, having every possible situation that can realistically occur in the future is giving me a lot of power in order to make informed decisions, in order to have a level of certainty of what I am doing. So I'm not just using a single forecasting. I'm using a forecast that is giving me also a probability, a risk, a sense of how much risk I am taking when using that forecast. And okay, also talking about the future, if I'm sure everybody knows that, or everybody is convinced that renewable energy will be key for the for the future and for the energy transition. And probably everybody also knows that energy storage is the key in order to make intermittent and non-dispatchable electricity generated by renewable energies, make it dispatchable, make it manageable. So basically, energy storage, hybridization with renewable energy production and storage facilities, and combining different renewable energy technologies that are kind of complementary. So it can be solar and wind, for instance, because they are very, very complementary. This will be a key. And in order to plan ahead, how much storage do I need? How I'm going to optimize the charge of the batteries if I am using batteries. So how I am going to sell the energy that I am producing, how much I'm going to store, how much I'm going to sell directly to the market. Basically, for this, it is why you also need not only day-ahead markets or the spot market, but also forecasting the ancillary services. That is going to be an important part when you are when you are using your stored energy, in order to go into the imbalance markets, in order to maximize your revenue. So basically, if you are trying to optimize your current plant, or if you are planning and trying to dimension your future project, basically having long-term price forecasting is going to be a key. It's going to be. And another important, where there are a lot of aspects, but another very important asset will be green hydrogen. How are we going to replace all the fossil fuels that we are using? Obviously, we are going to electrify a lot. We're going to electrify a lot of transportation. We are going to electrify a large part of industry, but there is also large distance, heavy duty transportation that are difficult to electrify. Also, high temperature in industry are also not very efficient done by electricity. In this case, green hydrogen is right now the most promising technology, and there are already a lot of plans on investments on producing green hydrogen with electrolyzers. Sorry. Basically, just showing this in order that when you are doing long-term scenarios, you have to take into account all these aspects, because the plan for these are the goals for of electrolyzer capacity for Spain and for the whole European Union. But basically, 4 gigawatts of electrolyzers, 4 gigawatts working for a full year at 90% load factor is basically 32 terabytes hour of energy consumed. And this is more or less 10% of all the expected energy demand in Spain in 2030. So when you are designing future scenarios, taking into account every aspect is very, very important, because things like that, things like green energy production, things how electrical vehicle charging, all this is going to have a huge impact on your demand scenario. So having all these things in mind is very important. And well, once you have your plant in your working plant, obviously you will need forecasting of demand, forecasting of price in all the horizons. Basically, you need short-term forecasting if you are planning your bids in the day-ahead market or in the ancillary services. You need mid-term forecasting because you have to plan ahead your maintenance, plan ahead your hedging. So and all this needs basically having a clear vision in the short and the mid and the long term of the electricity market. Basically, and as I mentioned, having small granularity as possible on each horizon is important, and having also probabilistic distributions of future events is also important. And another tool that we are offering, basically because information is power, so the more you know, the more you can make your informed decisions. We are offering this Alea Energy database. It's basically an online platform when you have a lot of data, a lot of variables for the electricity markets, energy markets, futures, etc. And basically information is used in many ways. So obviously data analysts, investors, journalists, CEOs, basically anyone that needs reliable information is a potential user of this online platform. And let's go and make I'll show you some of the characteristics of this platform live. So yep, this one. Okay, so hopefully you can see my my slide. So basically, let me see, because I didn't have time to prepare this. Okay, so basically the platform shows all the information. All the information is basically shown as time series. Basically, these variables are grouped together in what we call observatories. So basically, we have one observatory for each of the electricity markets. And then we also have fuels and macroeconomic data, futures markets also. So basically, and these are the data that we are having right now. We are including new data continuously, increasing the number of markets, increasing the number of variables in each market. So basically, adding more and more data available. So, for instance, this is the Spanish electricity market, and this is the price. This is the hourly price. So we can show, for instance, getting some perspective since the beginning of 2021. Basically, you see how prices have been increasing since the beginning of the beginning of last year. Here we have the largest price that we had, hourly prices up to 700 euros per hour, never seen before in the Spanish electricity market. We can change the granularity, show it the daily average, or we can even go down to weekly or go down to the monthly average. And we can, we can even go, let me go, Spanish market is one since the beginning of the market. So even before it was the Iberian market, at that time it was only the Spanish market, but we have the full history of the market. Basically, you can have a clear view on how this crisis, or the magnitude of this crisis. So before this crisis, the highest prices that we had were in the crisis, the financial crisis in 2008. And you see that's basically, at that time, those were huge prices. Right now, they are basically low prices, looking at the situation that we are right now. We also have, obviously, electricity demand. We can change granularity to daily and daily sum, daily mean, whatever. And we can also we can clearly see this weekly pattern. This is the last week where we had several holidays in Spain. So you see this funny shape in the demand. But we can filter and draw the moving average of the 7 days. So basically, removing this weekly pattern, and we can more clearly see what's the trend in the demand. We also have, gas demand, wind energy production, photovoltaic production, solar thermoelectric production, hydro, etc., etc. Also, temperatures, as I meant, for instance, we can see some interesting things in the temperatures. Since we go back since the beginning of the year, we can see, for instance, here. No, sorry. No, let me go a little bit farther since 2020 to see some weather episodes, interesting weather episodes. For instance, here you can see at the beginning of 2021, January 2021, seeing the storm Filomena giving very low temperature, and here you can see the heat wave that we had this summer. One in July, the other also it was late July. So in June and in July. Also interconnection with France. Here we can see how, for instance, how the price, the cap on gas price impacted the exchange with France. This is quite interesting. For instance, you see how this is the hourly exchange with France. So basically, import, export, more or less at the same level. But since here, June 15, when the price cap started to work, basically we get exporting all the time to France. So basically, having here lower prices than in the French market, basically they are importing and we are exporting as much energy as we can. And here, when this is when gas prices went as low as getting as lower as the gas price cap that we have here. So basically, electricity market prices again went into a similar level. So then we went back to these export-import exchanges, and then as gas prices went up again, French market prices went up again, and then we are again exporting all the time. And then in each observatory, you have these multi-graph options where you can make some analysis. For instance, we can draw temperature against, electricity demand against temperature. Let me see if I find temperature. Here it is, drawing it in different axes. And here we can see if we take some perspective, going back to 2020, to see how temperatures affect the demand. So basically, here you can see the demand is in blue. Here you can see this huge decrease in demand. This is basically March or spring 2020. This is due to the lockdowns on the COVID crisis. But then, as I mentioned, in January 2021, very low temperatures, the storm Filomena. Look at how huge the impact on the demand, on the electricity demand it was. So basically, this huge step following very low temperatures. And then the heat waves in this summer. So heat waves, increasing temperatures, increasing electricity demand, increasing temperature, increasing in electricity demand. So basically, huge relation between electricity demand and temperature. And then also another interesting relation is between price and wind energy production. We know that renewable energies put downward pressure in the electricity market price. So let's see if we can clearly see that. Okay, let's put it in a different. Let's go a little bit. Let's reduce a little bit, and let's make it monthly. Or no, let's make it daily, and let's look at the shorter period. For instance, October this year. Basically, here you can see the large anti-correlation of wind energy production, that is in red, and electricity market prices that are in blue. So basically, low energy production means high electricity prices, and the other way around. Large wind energy production, lower electricity market prices. Obviously, wind energy production is the key when forecasting electricity prices. Okay. But this is an example of an electricity markets. As I mentioned, we also have fuel markets. Fuel prices. We have TTF. We can go a little back since the beginning of 2021 to see how gas prices changed. So basically, they were usually around 20, 30 euros at the most along the whole history. And since then, see how much they have changed. This is the graph that we have already seen in one of these slides. We also have gas price in Spain. So this is the European hub, the mid hub. Have Brent price, coal price, CO2 emission prices, exchange between euro and dollar also. And using this multi-graph option, I'll show you something interesting, the relation with the TTF hub and the Iberian hub, gas hubs. Because these two prices have an interesting correlation or relation, let's call it, since the beginning of 20. Oh, here we are. And see, basically they have been very similar for a long time. Here in January 2021 is the storm Filomena. So basically gas prices go as the demand in the Spain and the Iberian Peninsula was particularly high and not in the rest of Europe. We see how gas prices increased really a lot at that time, really a lot in Spain, but not in the rest of Europe. But basically, both prices have been at the same level until more or less this time. So basically March, April. So basically since the beginning or after the beginning of the war. Basically, when Russia started decreasing the gas flows to Europe, basically TTF prices went up. But because of Spain has a lot of regasification power, so we can receive a lot of liquefied natural gas by ship, by the sea. Basically, with this regasification power, we have let's say a little more stable or guaranteed supply, and our prices are not as stressed in the Dutch hub that is basically receiving gas basically by pipe. So basically, see how the gas price decoupled in just after the beginning. And okay, I can go on, but basically we're reaching the end of the time. So I don't know, Alejandro, if we have any questions. We don't have time to see.
Thank you, Uriol. Great presentation. And well, yes, I believe we have time for a couple of questions. So we will start now the Q&A section of this webinar. And I have already a question.
Okay.
So the question is, we are interested in data from countries from Eastern Europe and that were not included in the platform you show. Can you include new countries on demand? And yes, as Oriol mentioned, we are at all times including new observatories for European energy markets and new data for the observatories already included. So if you are interested in a specific market or variable, you can request it so we can check its availability and add it to the platform. And Uriol, I don't know if you see any questions that you can answer.
Yes, okay.
Quickly.
There are some very interesting questions. I will try to answer all of them, but I like some of them. Well, the obvious questions about the news that the United States government made about how they get to produce to get out more energy that they input in a fusion reaction, nuclear fusion reaction. How is this going to affect our forecasting? Well, obviously this is great news. Nuclear fusion is something that it's always 10 years ahead. It's always in the next 10 years, But maybe I don't know if we already reached the final 10 years of this technology. Obviously, this is a huge step, but nuclear fusion could be or probably will be one of the main energy sources in the future. but even in the long-term forecasting that we are doing up to 2050, 2060, we are still far. So we know that the technology works, but we are still far on doing energy from nuclear fusion at enough larger scale in order to be useful. So it's promising. It's going to be a key in the future, but not in the near future, not in the long-term future, I would say. But obviously, it's going to be a disruptive technology at some point in the future. Still not in our horizon. And another questions about the risk of price cannibalization and curtailments in the electricity system, in the energy system, due to the renewable energy, the huge increase in capacity. So what we see is that in the future, obviously, the increase of renewable energy will be huge. Renewable energy is going to be the key in the energy transitions when replacing fossil fuels. But it could create some problems, but instead of problems, we are seeing opportunities. So basically, if renewable energies are going to produce a lot of low prices, instead of low prices, we are seeing competitive prices. So each time market gives very low prices, it's going to be an opportunity for flexibilization of demand, flexible demand that is capable of shifting their consumption to hours when there are more competitive prices. Also, green hydrogen production. If we are able to make flexible production, we are obviously going to produce more energy when prices are more competitive. Or even if some energy plant they see that they are going to have a lot of curtailments because there will be not room for all the energy that they are going to produce. What they are going to do, instead of just waste the energy that they are not going to produce, it's set an electrolyzer just in the plant and produce hydrogen with all the energy that you cannot sell to the market. So instead of problems, we are seeing opportunities. And obviously, we will have times and there will be hours with critical conditions where we'll have zero prices, we will have negative prices. There will be curtailments because there will be technical problems, but we don't see that as a recurrent problem in the future. So in our forecasting, when we introduce all the flexibility that energy storage, flexibilization of the demand, green hydrogen production, when we introduce all these, we basically see that curtailments and cannibalization of the prices are not going to be the main problem in the long-term future.
Okay, perfect. We will answer the remaining questions directly by email. That concludes the webinar today. Thank you again, Oriol, for that representation and for the questions. And I invite you all to register to our next webinar in January. We will be sharing it again with speakers from PricewaterhouseCoopers. And thank you, Oriol, and thank you, the audience, for joining. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Goodbye.